We've got some special guests on the podcast today. Tony and Alisa DiLorenzo, the husband and wife team behind One Extraordinary Marriage.
They're marriage coaches, best-selling authors, podcast hosts, and very passionate advocates for helping couples build stronger, more connected relationships.
Through their books, coaching, speaking, and their marriage podcast, they've spent more than a decade helping couples.
And we are thrilled to be learning from them today. So let's go ahead and get started. Tony and Alisa, we are thrilled to have you guys here. You guys are like kind of the OG marriage coaches.
Seriously.
And y'all were podcasting, I think, before I even knew podcasting was a thing.
Probably.
So when you like dove right into this whole marriage ministry thing, and I love that. And so we are like thrilled to be learning from you today. So as we get started, tell us a little bit about you, who you guys are, and about your ministry.
Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, we're Tony and Alisa. We will be married to 30 years this October, which,
Yay.
when you talk about us being OGs, I'm like, wow. So 30 years and people are calling us OGs now. Like, how old are we? 30 years married, two young adult children, a 23-year-old son and a 20-year-old daughter. And yeah, we started our podcast 16 and a half years ago. Which is just crazy.
Yeah, that would have been 2010.
For anybody that's trying to do the math.
Yes.
Like, isn't that around when like iPhones came out?
A little bit.
Didn't the iPhone
2008?
Around there. So there's some
Wow.
iPods, maybe.
So-
Yeah. Yeah, it had to have been because iPods were definitely
You were on an
around.
iPod.
Yeah. And so when we jumped on,
Sorry, Alisa.
You're so old. You're like pre-iPhone. No, I think the iPhone was 2008.
I think the iPhone was out. But anyways, iPods definitely were out. And that's where I started listening to podcasts once somebody told me about it. And for us, it was a place where we had done something radical in our own marriage a couple of years prior.
You want to hear about?
Which we'll talk about, yep. But after that, we had been asked to speak at our church's marriage getaway on this radical adventure we took. And we'll, like you said, we'll talk about that part of it. But we shared, and after we shared, everybody was like, hey, so what's next? What's next, Tony and Alisa? Like, that was amazing. And Alisa and I are looking at us,
I'm like,
at
there's
each
no
other.
next. There is no next. We did it. We changed our marriage. I don't need to do anything else. Like, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
And then God started just sort of, hey, you guys, it's time to do something. It's time to do something. And this is back when blogging was big. So we started there. And that was horrible because we got more
would fight.
mad at each other.
Oh my gosh. Because here's the thing, like you're trying to, especially, when you're just new into a ministry, you're trying to find your voice. You're trying to figure out what you're going to say. You put this material out there, and it's still true today, but you put material out there and everybody like listens to it or reads it through their own filter. And everybody's got their opinions. I mean, the opinions were not nearly as loud in 2010 as they are now, but you had these opinions and you're trying to figure out like, what is our voice?
Yeah. And so the written part of it wasn't really falling for us. And so we had hired a coach at the time to just help us through. And he's like, hey, there's this thing called podcasting, which we hadn't known about and learned about. And then we just said, all right, we're doing this. I bought all the equipment, sat there for 3 months. And then Alisa finally got upset with me and said, did we just buy the most expensive doorstop ever? And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to do this. And unbeknownst to me, she thought we would do what?
5 to 10. I was really you know what, this is like, anybody that's been married for any length of time knows that your spouse sometimes gets like a really big idea and you're kind of like, I'm going to humor you because I don't really want to. And I'm not sure you're going to, but you've got this idea. So we got to walk it out. And so we started January of 2010.
Yep. And as of this week that we are recording, we have released 916 episodes.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
I was wrong. I was wrong. You were right. I was wrong.
And to think like how many marriages that impacts.
Oh my God.
Like the
thousands.
ministry you can do with that and that you guys have done over the years. Like that's phenomenal.
Thank
Things
you.
happening that you will never even know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so tell us about your marriage, because we know everybody will look at you now and we'll get this too, like, oh, you guys are so happy, you're so great. And
You've always been
life has
believers, so of course it's worked
Yes.
for you.
Things have been easy. So, and I know, and we're going to talk about your book and this whole framework you do about the 6 pillars of intimacy, but you all did not, like, you fell into marriage ministry because you had some struggles, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah, we are not the perfect couple that's been perfect
Yeah.
for 30 years.
no,
Not
Yes.
even close.
we weren't even believers when we got married. We were far from it. And interestingly enough, right now, summer of what is it, 26, 32 years ago, Alisa and I were sitting around. We had just met. We were sitting around watching FIFA World Cup soccer here in the United States. It was the summer of 94 when we met. And it's
Wow.
so wild to sit around now at 32 years later. Our son loves soccer and specifically
Yeah.
World Cup, but we're thinking back to, man, we met in 94. We
Babies.
were just, I mean, we were not anywhere close to following Jesus
Marriage
at that
and
point
ministry.
in our lives.
Would not have been 2 words that we would have ever put together.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we didn't know about doing marriage. I mean, I think we both definitely, subscribe to the idea of, well, we love each other enough to like get through any issues, until you find out that you don't know how to communicate well, you don't know how to have a healthy sex life, you don't know how to handle your finances, and interestingly enough, the person that you married isn't great at those things too. And so you bring all that together, and it's a recipe for really feeling super disconnected, a recipe for questioning if getting married was even a good idea, and trying to figure out, like, is this as good as it gets? Is this what, like, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted happy. I wanted, rainbows and unicorns. And instead it's like, I don't know if I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we walked into our marriage and we found ourselves at year 5, about $50,000 in debt. It just continued to accumulate, and we were in a pretty bad spot there. We had our first child the year later. We'd gone out of debt. And then a couple of years after that, we lost a child, which was really tough on us.
Yeah.
And so had our second child, but we were still just struggling. There's a lot of roommate syndrome.
Yeah.
And so we found ourselves at year 11 now. This is now 11 years. We got a 5 and a 2-year-old, and we're looking at each other going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We had come to Christ in that time. And yet at year 11, we're still just sitting here going like, is this as good as it gets?
Yeah.
Because if it is, I don't think either of us really signed up for this. So what are we doing here?
Right. Yeah. No, that's tough. And it's not an uncommon story. I think
No,
there's
it's still a people's story.
yeah, that people fall into this roommate situation that it's a drift. It's a slow drift. And
Yep.
They don't really notice it's happening.
And I think, Lisa, what you were talking about, how you thought marriage would be, everybody is still falling into that trap, and you don't know what you don't know, like you said. And we have these expectations that I think we don't often even know we have until we get married, and then they're not met.
Yeah.
And then
Well-
it is like, this is not it.
Absolutely. And I think it's actually harder now because of social media, because
Yes.
everybody gets to see, like, in the 90s, like, you were looking at your friends' disposable camera pictures, right? From their trip that were all fuzzy and blurry and maybe
Yes.
a digital camera picture, like, all of like 1 inch by 1 inch. Now I can see what my girlfriend in Texas had for dinner last night, and I can see, what the one in Oklahoma where her husband's taking her on vacation, and I can see all these things, and it's like, wait, everybody else's highlight reel. What happens when our marriage doesn't look like the highlight reel?
Right.
What do you do?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a easy trap to fall into. Well, that's one of the things that social media wants to beckon you into this being discontented. Right.
Yes.
And
That's a great word, because that's what it is.
yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, it's you get pulled into that, and then you fall into the trap of like, well, then there's something wrong with us. Well, and usually, do I think, Alisa, you were kind of almost saying this, that it's not so much what's wrong with us, it's almost what's wrong with you. Why are you failing me? Why are you
Right.
falling short?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because it's much easier to look externally than to have to look internally and say, oh, maybe I've got a role in this too. Blame is much easier. Blame is much easier.
Yeah.
Sure. So, what are some of the things that with the people who are doing the slow slide? Slow slide? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What are some things that they should be looking out for to be kind of like going, hey, this might be where we're at or happening to
Some
us
red
as well.
flags that are happening.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I definitely think some red flags, some really tangible ones. When you walk into your living room and there's his end of the couch and her end of the couch, and it's not the same end of the couch if you're even in the same room.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That physical, we're not going to even be in proximity to one another. That tells you that there's a gap growing in between you. The couple that can't remember is the last time they had fun together. And I'm not just talking about dates because we get so into, did you have a date night? And not everybody's doing date night. When did you have fun? When did you go grab a coffee together? When did you play a game together? When did you go, explore your city? What does fun look like for the two of you?
Yeah. And I would say another one too is there are these times when in our relational meeting, when we're getting to know one another, we have these conversations, we're getting to know one another. And that, in this day and age is different than what Alisa and I had, which was in person or on the phone or maybe even through email, but we had a lot of it. And I think for ourselves, it drifted and it became non-existent. And what used to be these fun, amazing conversations we could have just were not. It was always tense. It was short. It was, did you do this? Did you not do that? It was rejection. All of these things begin to pile up and you're looking at one another going, why do we do this? But way back when, and I can say that now because 32 years ago when we met during FIFA World Cup soccer, we had these conversations sitting on a couch and just loving it. And then you look, you get married and down the years and you're going like, we can barely say a word to each other without us yelling at one another. Wow. What happened?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and life does get in the way. I think there are certainly certain seasons, especially the earlier ones where you're parenting and in the throes of it, you're busy and you're building your life and raising kids where you have to be very intentional. So it's not always that like something bad is happening that we're drifting. Sometimes it's normal is happening and we're drifting and we're unaware of it.
Right.
And so for you guys, we read your book, The 6 Pillars of Intimacy.
Let's hold it up.
And everybody see, if you're looking, this is a book. We're going to have links for it. But I love, because this is pretty much a framework that you guys developed, because there's such a depth to it, like the 6 layers of it, and those 6 pillars. And first, before we get into those pillars and talk about your journey and how you launched into that, why pillars? Because I love what you wrote about that, but I'd love for you to explain it now. Why did you choose them to be called Pillars of Intimacy?
I wish I could take credit for this, but this is really a God-breathed book. And so it was very much a visual that was given to me. And when I started looking at pillars in architecture, right? Like we can think of, ancient Greece and that type of thing. We can see those columns, or even like on the White House, right? You see columns, pillars, however you refer to them, but they do a number of different things. I mean, obviously they add beauty. Right? There's something majestic about seeing a building that has pillars. They carry strength. Right? They bear the weight of the building, but they also add strength to.
You're giving me goosebumps right now. It's like really.
Well, and again, I would love to be like, oh my gosh, I thought that, but like I know that God. This was a book that God, because it came out in COVID and because of the opposition to this book and all of the different types of things, like I know that was not an accidental imagery. And when couples can think about the fact that there are these 6 pillars that can add beauty, add strength, and carry strength in their marriage and carry them through, all of a sudden they're not having to do it on their own. They're not having to just say, well, you know what, we're just all messed up. There's nothing to us. It's like, no, we can focus on one area or 2 areas that maybe have cracks, but we can also look and see what's strong. And we know that what's strong right now is what's carrying us in this season.
I love that. And just as you're sharing about that, like what you're sharing about the pillars, I'm just thinking, I'm like, that's the heart of God for marriage.
Yes.
That is what he wants for marriage. And that is such a profound and beautiful thing. And I love the whole idea where, because sometimes if your marriage is struggling, it can be very overwhelming.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
might have some issues over here. You might have financial issues, intimacy issues, relational, all these different things. And you try to put out all the little fires, and you're just working with a little squirt gun, trying to do this. Another one pops up and it gets overwhelming, and that gets very defeating and discouraging. And so this idea of the pillars, and I know you guys have an assessment, which at the end I'm going to have you share about, where you can, take this assessment and go, okay, where are the cracks at? And then even if it's in a few areas, it's like, what pillar are we going to start on? And
Yep.
so some of the stuff, like, let's just give each other grace in this area. We'll set that aside. We've got to repair this pillar first. And it gives you an area of focus that's not so overwhelming. Did you design it like that? Or is that something where it's like, wow, that naturally is what just happened?
Like the sequence of the pillars, how we talk about them, this understanding that, again, it's a visual, right? So like we know if you look at a building and we see in Greece and whatnot, you see buildings that have cracked pillars, but you also see the ones that are still strong, right? And fully upright. And so that visual was so powerful that I'm like, well, that's kind of like marriage. And at the time that this book had come out, so this book was released in 2021.
Yep.
So that we're going on 5 years. So I had been coaching at that point in time for 9 years. So I had seen a lot of marriages and a lot of examples. And so that it very much married with that intentional visual.
Yeah, you could see the cracks. So let's talk about some of these pillars then, because you've got 6 of them.
Well, I was going to say before that, because we talked about, okay, where you were at. We didn't really kind of talk about how you got out of that hole. Obviously, look, I think the giveaway, the secret is the 6 pillars of intimacy had helped.
Yes. Which we didn't know at the time, Chris, but yes.
So we got really intentional about our marriage. We found ourselves in 2008 at a massive crossroads, actually considering divorce. We were that disconnected. And, roommates, not touching, finances in the toilet, not having sex, like you name it.
All of that accumulated over 11 years.
Yes.
And so then we get to this point where we're about to lead a small group study at our church. And one of the things that I have been frustrated with is the church not talking about sexual intimacy. And so at that point in time, we were about to lead a small group study at our church. And I remember looking at Alisa, just visionary and just being excited about something different, try something new and, go against the grain. I was like, we need to talk about sex. And
Yay.
lo and behold, we're not really having that much of that happening in our household at that point in time at all. And yet I was like, we need to talk about this. And it was, 4 or 5 couples were going to be in this group. And so Alisa just sort of shot off real quickly, like, you find me a book about that and I'll consider it. Well, I went to Berean bookstore, Christian bookstore back in the day when Berean was around. And between some jobs I was on, I went there and I looked at the relationship marriage section and found Intimacy Ignited by Dillow and
Pontus and
Dillow, who wrote that book. And it was all in the Song of Solomon. And I said, Alisa, I found the book. And she was like, okay. And so we told our group we were going to do this. And then right prior to that, we had another couple that we knew from church, and their daughters were playing like beach tennis. At the time we were living in San Diego. We now live in Southwest Florida. And we're like, all right, well, let's watch this. Let's watch this segment. Well, we watched this segment. Right after that segment, though, was 2 couples, and they had sex challenges. One gave her husband 365 days of sex for his 40th
She gave him a
birthday.
year of sex. They never say exactly how many days.
All right. A year of sex,
it was
365
Well, but
days.
365 sounds like they did 365.
They never say.
Yeah.
They never say how many days they actually completed. The next couple says we did 101 days. In my mind, I know we're disconnected. We're looking at life and going, and our marriage and going, what are we going to do? And I remember just looking at Alisa, knowing that the study we were going to do was going to be 8 weeks long, roughly 60 days. Look at her. I'm like, hey, what if we do, while we're doing this small group study, what if we do a 60-day sex challenge?
No.
Yeah.
I I don't even know why you would be crazy enough to bring up something like that.
Then she walks to the bathroom, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, she said no, but we'll have sex at least tonight. She comes out of the bathroom with a green face mask on. and I say this because never had she ever put a face mask on that I knew of. And never has she ever put a green face mask on since then.
I don't even know where the mask came from.
May not have even been a face mask.
Maybe. I don't know. I just smeared something on my face. Like, we're not doing this.
So it was dejecting.
Yeah.
And just figured, all right, well, maybe something else will change in our marriage. And maybe us just going through this study will be what we need for us as we go through it with other couples.
Mm-hmm. And so, the next day, it's always interesting, I think, where God gets a hold of you.
Yeah.
And so the next day I'm standing in my garage with a basket full of laundry, and I'm just getting ready to go into the house to fold clothes because, life. And I hear the voice of God say, "Are you really not willing to try?"
Oh, wow.
And I start arguing with God, which it's pretty well documented in the Bible. That's not going to go well for you. But, you think you're going to be different,
Nobody
right?
wins.
You think maybe I've got a better argument. And so I'm like, but God, like our kids and like we're disconnecting. He's like, he's not asking you for anything else than to make him a priority. If you're not willing to do that, your marriage is over. I'm like, wow. I don't like that answer.
Yeah.
But Tony comes home from work that day, and I think that I have just nominated myself for Wife of the Year because he walks in the door and I'm like, I'm in. And he looks at me and goes, in for what? What are you talking about?
Because I had learned over the years being rejected to just keep moving forward. And so I had completely forgotten as I worked and did my work throughout the day. And then once she said, I'm in to do this, I was like, oh, shoot. And so... And it was really a deer in the headlights moment, Chris. You may get this, because then it was like, holy, am I going to be able to do this for 60 days and physically be able to do this? And after I got over the shock that she actually said yes and we could figure this out, we came up with some parameters for us, which were if one of us is traveling, if one of us is sick, or if Alisa is a time of the month.
Yeah.
We ended up starting. And out of those 60 days, we ended up completing 40. And it has radically transformed our marriage. The interesting part, though, is when we talk about these 6 pillars of intimacy, we go back now and we're like, the sexual intimacy part is what allowed us to go, okay, we're going to do something radical in our marriage. And yet it was the emotional intimacy, it was the spiritual intimacy, it was the physical intimacy, which is, for everybody, that's your non-sexual touch. Those are the areas that really kept us going day after day. And so...
And we rediscovered them.
Yeah.
We found that when you make your marriage a priority, when you make your spouse a priority, there are so many gifts and so many different ways to be close. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, you can't be sexually intimate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you better look at these other pillars, because you can't build a marriage solely on that one. You just can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Well, even when you were saying before, Tony, when you're saying that, his wife gifted him 365 days, I'm thinking, and he gifted her an ice pack, because that's it's just not going to be realistic. But I love the fact that because some people will hear that and think, oh, well, great. Well, then we're just focusing on just this act, on just doing this. But what you all are saying is, no, it's the choice to focus on this, then brought in everything else into focus. Because if we're going to do this, then we're focusing on all these other areas of our relationship and of our marriage as well. Because it's hard to just be physically, sexually intimate without having to appreciate the other person throughout the day as well.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a challenge like this, Chris, and it's interesting, you brought this up in the way you said it, but it made me go, you become vulnerable. You have to open up, because when you're being vulnerable around your sexual intimacy, and say you're having sex once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, it's easy to just have or be in the moment for the act at that one moment in time. It's a whole nother thing when you're going day after day after day and you start getting to a place where you have to, and I remember having to tell Alisa, like, I'm getting tired. And that's, you have to be able to be vulnerable and tell her that, because if not, then we're going to be dealing with other issues. And so the vulnerability that we had stuffed away for so many years, the openness we had in the beginning of our marriage that we stuffed away, it began to show itself again, because we were in places where if things weren't going the way they were supposed to go, we could either shut down and not tell each other and get frustrated, or we were going to be willing to step into those places and go, I think I'm going to need a little help tonight, or I'm struggling here, or I'm having a great time there. And it was an interesting time.
Yeah, and just that vulnerability, I mean, nothing breeds connection faster than vulnerability.
Yeah.
And also just the idea, I would imagine, just knowing my spouse is committed to working on us. He's in it for me, for our marriage, and she's in it for me and our marriage. That dynamic, that's like a whole mindset shift. And that's kind of undeniable when you are, actually physically doing something to work on your marriage, every day. And then the more you do that, you're literally changing your brain in that process too. And now you're seeing, more things that are good than it's, because when you live in that disconnection in that roommate, like those become your expectations, those become your focuses. He's sitting over there again, he's on his phone, or he doesn't help me. But when you're, having sex so frequently, you're starting to see the good things. And now you're noticing probably more about each other. Like, he just shared that with me. Because even if it's a hard thing, I need your help with this. Man, a woman loves that. Like, yes, let me into your vulnerabilities and into where you're feeling weak or inadequate. That's the stuff that we want. And now that is changing how you're viewing one another as well. And so that's how all the other pillars start getting. So some of these, it seems like we can identify a crack over here. And when we start working on that, it's almost tied a little bit to some of the other pillars, and they start getting repaired and patched up a little bit along the way just by focusing on one.
Right. And that's a big part of the fact that this is a framework. All of the pillars are interconnected. You can look at, individual aspects of them, but your emotional intimacy is going to be tied to your finances, your financial intimacy, and how the two of you have fun with your recreational intimacy is going to be tied to maybe your physical intimacy. And so you start to see this interplay and recognize, well, if we bring attention to, like, positive attention to any area of our marriage, if we start showing up differently, the ripple effect of that is that there tends to be a whole lot more positivity.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that, because again, it goes back to what we were talking about. We don't have to fix every single problem in our marriage. We don't need to highlight everything. We don't need to point them all out. It's okay. And it's good to go, this is where we're going to start. And there is that ripple effect. And just remembering, you're talking about this being a God-breathed book, knowing when we take that step towards one another, we have God who is on our side, who is he's the ultimate pillar. He's going to be doing the heavy lifting. And sometimes we just need to take the step. Then he's like, all right, now I got it. Because now we're working with him. We're aligning with him. So one of the things that you had mentioned in the book, and I think it was in the physical intimacy, not the sexual intimacy part, but I want to bring that because it made me think of when you put on the green mask. That is something I think that happens a lot. And a lot of wives will do that. They will go to bed earlier. They will have the headaches. They will do things, but they won't speak about what's really going on. But to that point, you had mentioned like taking on your feelings or whatever as an identity. And so you talked about one wife who's like, well, I'm just not touchy-feely. And it's like, that is powerful. So talk about that a little bit. What happens if you begin to do that and just go, well, that's just the way they am. Our love language isn't physical touch. I'm just not touchy-feely. What does that do?
First of all, it makes Alisa cringe a whole lot. I'm sitting here going, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
First, let's define physical intimacy, because I think so
Yes,
many
yes.
people have heard that and they'll use that interchangeably.
It's
So
sexual.
within the 6 pillars of intimacy, and I want to just go through the 6 real quick, and then we'll
Yeah.
come back
Yeah.
just so we can connect everything together. So we have emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, financial intimacy, spiritual intimacy, recreational intimacy, and then sexual intimacy. The 2 that most people will hear are physical intimacy and sexual intimacy.
And they interchange.
And they'll interchange those. What we have learned over time, and especially because people will say, I'm a physical touch person, but they also say, I want to be physically intimate. So we had to help people understand the differences there. And we were also being talked to by the one family, that's our audience, saying to us, and we would hear them. So physical intimacy is your non-sexual physical connection. So when we talk about physical intimacy within the 6 pillars, this is my arm around Alisa. This is holding hands. This is your kisses. This is your hugs. Could it lead to more? Absolutely. But there are many times when I'm driving down the street with Alisa as a passenger that she just takes that beautiful left hand of hers and puts it on my right knee, and it means the world to me.
Yeah.
And there is no sexual interaction happening, but that physical intimacy can change my mood in a moment in time. So I'll let you take it from there.
So to this question of, identity, and I'm not touchy-feely, or I'm, all lovey-dovey or whatever, there can be 2 sides to that coin. One, it acknowledges your lived experience, right? Like maybe you have grown up in a home where physical affection, that physical touch was not prevalent. And so you're just kind of like, well, that's not who I am. The challenge is that when we take on identities, it actually kind of like stunts our growth, right? It doesn't allow for skill development. It doesn't allow for us to grow with our spouse into who we might have the opportunity to become. And it puts up walls. You tell somebody you're not touchy-feely, there is a wall that has just like, don't hug me, I'm not a touchy-feely person. Okay.
Because you believe it.
You believe, right? And they're like, I am not going near that person. And maybe you don't want to hug everybody. Maybe you don't want to cuddle. Maybe there are certain touches that are more meaningful to you than others. But we tell everyone, around the 6 pillars is that these aren't, God-given gifts that, you got physical intimacy and you got emotional intimacy and you got financial intimacy, and then the rest of you got nothing. It's more looking at this and saying, how can I develop the skills that I need in this particular area of my marriage to best connect and be close to my spouse, not anybody else's, the one that God gave me. Does that mean if, maybe you don't like to be hugged, but you like to have your feet rubbed? Okay, that's still physical intimacy. That would not be my choice. I don't like having my feet rubbed. That would be a big, don't do it.
Do not touch Alisa's feet.
But this whole, he puts his arm around me, I'm leaning into it. I love this.
And here's something too. Alisa and I grew up very different when it comes to this. I grew up in an Italian family, and it was expected. I'm first generation.
I'll touch.
My dad came over to this country. But in my family, it was expected that you would kiss your mom and dad, that when aunts, uncles, grandparents walked into the room, you would kiss them, you would hug them. When they left, the same thing. In Alisa's family,
Not so much. No.
not at all.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that.
It was more like, hi, good to see you, there's my wall.
And so we even had to understand, what does physical intimacy look for us in our marriage in the earlier years, but even as we have begun to age and get older, what does this look like for us? And we've had to address this many a times, and we've talked about it many of times on the One Extraordinary Marriage show, how our family and our upbringing impacted how we were close and connected around our physical intimacy in our marriage.
Well, and I would say it's not just your upbringing, it's the season and stage of life that you're in.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
And that's really, again, because this is a framework, you can evaluate it no matter if you are like a 20-something newlywed or a 70-something empty nester. and looking at this going, okay, how do these pillars, how can we address them in this stage? Right? Where we're at, what does our emotional intimacy look like when you're, or financial intimacy, right? When you're just starting out and maybe you don't have two nickels to rub together, you're like, we're in it, we're going to build something. And then you're on the other side and you're like, what's our legacy?
Yeah.
Right? How are we providing, are we leaving an inheritance to, like all of the, we're getting ready to die questions, still financial intimacy, but you're not thinking about those when you're 20.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So
Sure.
you can use the framework across ages and stages.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a great point because certainly when you have little children and small children, a lot of moms will be like, "I'm touched out.
Yeah.
I don't need another person touching me today." But
That's
I
right.
think I think that really then starts to weave into the emotional intimacy because now you have to have the safety to feel like you can share that with your spouse and let them know, so that way it doesn't turn into an argument. I've been touched by the kids all day. You're right. So we get to just say, "This is where I have a deficit. This is where I have a struggle. This is the challenge," and be able to communicate that. Because I love that idea because the first off, it's they saying an identity. I am this, and this is how I'm stuck. And like God gave me the parable of the talents, and this is I'm physical, not physical. But what that does to your spouse too, when you make that statement, how they interpret it. I am a porcupine.
Right.
Right. This is so you get close to me, you will get quilled. That kind of thing, and certainly that I don't know if somebody is aware when they're making those statements of the messaging that it's giving to their spouse, and how then goes back to emotional safety. Because you know what? Because if I can't have this physical intimacy because you're telling me don't touch, don't get near me, anything that touches me you don't get back. Well, then emotional safety is not going to be there because now I've got to watch myself in different areas. That threat's up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it leaves no room for growth. And as believers, growth is something we're called to. And some of these things, like when we can identify cracks, when we identify the crack, we also identify where the healing needs to happen.
Ooh, yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing because sometimes that is going, well, what was it like for you growing up? And now you realize, like, my sense of normal might be a little skewed. Maybe there is another way, and that opens doors. And so they're not all problems are only problems when you don't handle them properly. And that's what it is. And so when you can look at problems, when you can look at cracks and go, this is an opportunity for us to grow in the Lord and to grow closer together and to grow individually. Like, that's such a great thing. And so we think of like cracks as these bad things, these problems are bad. They're not all negative. I mean, they really are. Some of our worst marital pain have launched me into such seasons of growth. And that's a great thing. And so these cracks and identifying them and working on these pillars, like it makes us better as people and it makes us stronger as a couple. And so I think that is really great.
And we've seen it time and time again. I mean, it's amazing what we get in people who are at the end of their rope, who have been able to find the cracks. Because before it was like what you were saying, it's almost like whack-a-mole. Something's happened over here. I'm going to hit it. I'm going to try to get it. But they just keep coming up, and you're like, where do I start?
Yeah.
And now with the 6 pillars of intimacy and what we've seen over the years, and it's just been such a blessing. And again, to be a part of what God is doing is a blessing. But the couples that come and they're like, we're putting this into practice and it's transforming our marriage. And we hear that time and time again because it's exactly what you've been saying, Jamie, is that they can see the crack now and not look at it as it's bad, but it's like, we see it. What can we do to now repair it? What can we do to now strengthen that pillar so we can start healing, restoring, and have that extraordinary marriage we desire?
I think it's one of those things too, where sometimes couples don't know where their pitfalls are. They don't know what they don't know. And so when there has been a crack and, they start looking at these different pillars and they're like, oh, there's a crack in our spiritual intimacy, or there's a crack in our emotional intimacy. And like you said, it's an opportunity for healing. It's also an opportunity to bring like unexpected strength into your marriage. Because when you have walked through, and we've all been married more than a day, so I know we've walked through some stuff. When you've walked through those seasons, when you've had to come out on the other side and you've had to reinforce those pillars and you've had to learn new skills, the strength that brings to your marriage, when you've done it together and you're like, okay, we have made this pillar strong. We have identified that we had cracks here, but we worked together. We're on the same team. We work together. And now, it might not be perfectly straight because like I often tell my coaching clients, there's only one perfect person that's ever walked this earth, and it's not any of us sitting here. So I don't expect the pillars to be straight, but they can be strong.
Yeah. And I love that because what you're talking about, like, that's a marriage that's tested and it's remained standing. And there is so much security and knowing, like, we went through that and here we are.
Yes.
Here we are. And like the ease of your marriage. And so knowing, and you no longer fear, you're no longer like hyper vigilant about the next problem that's coming up because you're kind of going, it doesn't really matter because we've been tested and we can handle it.
Yeah, the walking on eggshells.
Yeah. If the pillar cracks, we'll fix it.
We'll fix it.
And knowing that instead of, oh no, there's a crack, are we going to get divorced? Are we going to fall apart? Now, because you've been tested and you've repaired that crack, it's been tested and we can do that.
Got skills.
So let's go over briefly because, and I don't want to get too deep in all of them, one, for time's sake, but two, because I want everybody to get your book. I want them to get the book and I want them to go in deeper because it is just so powerful and it is so practical. So
And it's an easy read. Look,
It is an easy
I am
read.
not a good reader.
He's not.
And I was able to
You
get
could have asked me for the audio book, Chris. I would have sent it to you.
But yeah, I was able to like, oh, hey, I'm reading on the next chapter. Oh, I'm on another chapter. Okay, this is
It's great. So we do want everybody to go get this, but let's touch on them somewhat. We covered the physical intimacy a little bit, but let's go over the emotional intimacy because that's a big important one, especially for I think the wives.
Yes.
Can I start with just what intimacy is real quick, though?
Go, because
let me
talk.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, though, too, real quick before we jump into them. Because a lot of people in our society, when they hear intimacy, what do they think of?
Sex.
There you go. So this is not a book called The 6 Pillars of Sex.
Yeah.
It's the 6 pillars of intimacy, and the definition of intimacy, Alisa and I came to find out, is closeness and connection. That's what intimacy is. True intimacy is how are we close and connect. It's like how we can be at church and our pastor can sit at the pulpit and go, have that intimate relationship with your Heavenly Father because we're getting close and connected. So I just wanted to say that because I think it helps a lot of people to go, oh, okay, this isn't just about sex.
Right.
No. Each one of these is how do I get close and connected with my spouse?
Yeah,
that's
love
great.
that. That's a great clarification.
I'm good.
Are you good?
I have to say that one. It's just
You got to do it.
That's his favorite. Like if he doesn't get to say that,
at churches, this is the best because I'll say it and people will just sit there and be like,
are we allowed to say sex in church?
crickets. But I'm like, it's okay. We're at a marriage event. Let's go, you guys. And finally, somebody will be like, sex? Yes. All right. Let's go.
I love that you said it for 2 reasons. One, because the first one will make a really good clip, and then 2, that last one about the sex will make a great clip. So,
Sex. We're gonna get an explicit warning on your podcast.
On your account. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'll work the YouTube as 18 plus.
There you go. Yeah. So first pillar is emotional intimacy. I do call it the workhorse in the book because how we talk, how we share our thoughts and feelings, how we show up with our body language, all of that ties in not just to the connection between husband and wife, but to how we talk about the other 5 pillars.
Yep. Physical intimacy, we spoke about. So non-sexual touch, that's what it is.
Financial intimacy, all things related to money, but not just budgets. It takes everything from how do we start paying the bills, on day 1 when we're married, all the way through estate planning, trust, wills, insurance, because it's all interwoven in our marriages over the lifetime.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of couples know what like financial intimacy, how much it's like what money means to you.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And so in defining that and understanding that.
Yes.
And that's a whole podcast on its own.
Yeah. It is.
It really is. Yeah. Spiritual intimacy, these are our shared beliefs, practices, how we serve together, worship, prayer. It's all of that under our umbrella of our spiritual intimacy. And the thing about this one is most of us have come to Christ individually. Some couples do come to Christ together. There's a moment in time where they're like, yes, we're taking that step of faith and we're going to believe in Jesus. But many of us come individually. So now it's how do we bring that spiritual, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, we have these individual journeys, and it's, really going back to Genesis 2, where it says the two shall become one.
Yeah.
And choosing a shared faith journey, and not just being like, this is my faith and this is your faith.
There we go.
Yeah.
She said it best.
Yes. Okay. So spiritual intimacy. After that, pillar number 5 is recreational intimacy. And this is, how do the two of you have fun together? It was really important to do things and have fun way back, however long you've been married. But life, kids, bills, obligations kind of leech the fun out of a marriage. And if you're going to do a long time with somebody, you should keep the fun up. It's much more enjoyable if there's a fun component.
Like you had talked about how this is through every stage of marriage. Some of these become more important a little bit. The recreational intimacy, we're in our mid 50s and stuff and having fun. Like our kids are grown, things are different. We also have that new, that mindset shift. Well, you know what, we're coming towards the end here. We're on the second half. And so we think about things differently, and you can also do a little bit less the older you get. And so even I want to know that even when we're old people sitting in the rocking chair out front, that we're going to be cracking up and having fun.
I'm not worried about that with you two. No. I am not worried that you're going to be laughing on the rocking chair.
No, and this is a strong one for us, but it's so foundational in our marriage. I mean, when we're laughing together, we are bonding. We are releasing great chemicals. We are connecting. And the older you get, when you do start losing some of the other things, they're harder to work on. This is one that this one can come around really strong.
Yeah. Well, I like to share that James 5 is actually a lesser known marriage verse that people don't think it's a marriage verse, that we should consider or choose that, consider it joy when we have trials of various types. That's absolutely a marriage verse, right? We're going to have trials of various types. Consider it joy. Have recreation. Have fun.
Yes.
Have fun.
Sure.
Yes.
And then lastly is sexual intimacy. And this one is not only intercourse. And again, this is stuff that we started learning and hearing a lot from the One Family. And this is romancing, this is initiating, this is foreplay, and it's sexual intercourse. And so instead of looking at it as did we or didn't we, there are many different ways that we can strengthen this pillar, going at it from the romance, the initiating, the foreplay, and then obviously sexual intercourse.
Nice. No, those are all great. And I guess you've got, we mentioned it before, you have an assessment that you offer for free, right?
Yes. Yeah. So anybody can go to 6pillarsofintimacy.com/quiz. And you can take it and you'll find out and you'll look at it and you'll see what your strongest pillar is. And then you can learn from there and we share about it for you. But that at least gets you started to go, okay, I know where I'm at. We know where we're at. And each of you can take it to see which one is strongest for you. And that's wonderful because then you can go, oh, well, mine is this, yours is that. Great. We got 2 down. What's the other ones and how do we strengthen those ones?
Yeah. Now, do you guys, what tools do you reply or provide when somebody, because I know Alisa does some coaching and stuff like that to walk couples through this, but is that the book that you recommend for that? So they find out their issues, they find out where the cracks are, then what happens?
So actually, we flip that on its head. They find out where they're strongest. And let me just speak into this for a second, because so often you would expect to find out, well, here's where we're all messed up. When you know where you're strongest, and for anyone listening to this podcast, I want you to evaluate what the skills are that make that pillar strong for the two of you. Because wherever you think you've got cracks, maybe you start, even as you've been listening to this, you're like, oh, we might not be so great there. Hack the code. If it made you strong in this pillar because you gave it time, or you've had the conversations, or you've figured out something else, start applying it to the pillar that isn't as strong.
Love that.
Let's go from a positive mindset. And yes, pick up the book. I mean, we go in depth in the book. There's a companion workbook that goes with it. We have Intimacy Mastery. We have a number of different resources depending on where a couple is, in addition to marriage coaching. But if we as individuals could change our mind from thinking, oh my gosh, we're just so messed up, to there is a place where we are strong. It's like that scene from Dumb and Dumber where you're like, so what is it? So there's.
He said there is a chance.
So there is a chance, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the hope that we want people to have coming to this quiz and going, so we are strong somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's work off of that strength to make the changes that we need to make.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm
That's
so
so
glad
great.
I asked that question. That was good. I love that answer. And I love that you have that focus because, I mean, really, you're not going to get very far if you don't have hope.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
Very true.
that is we're going to show you that there is hope right out of the gate. And I think as couples read the book, they're going to see hope in your story. They're going to see hope in your own testimony, that it can be done in some of the testimonies you share, and just knowing, that there may be some cracks, but and chances are there's more strengths than there are cracks.
In a lot of
Yes.
cases, yes.
We
You
just
know,
need to
and
see them again. We just need to see them again. I
Yeah.
think sometimes in marriage, and you guys know this for all the couples that you help and have helped and will continue to help. Sometimes we just get beat down and we don't see the sunshine anymore. We're sitting in fog, and we got to break open the clouds and allow you to see and have that hope again to go, okay, we can do this. And it's something that Alisa and I have been all about since the very beginning. How do we encourage and how do we bring hope? And you don't have to be Tony and Alisa. This isn't about being Tony and Alisa. God made you, specifically you, to be with the person you are with. So how do you strengthen your marriage through those pillars?
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
I love that.
Fantastic.
And before we wrap this up, you guys have next year, you have a couples cruise that you're doing, right? And you've got some
Yes.
spots still open.
As the time of this is coming
the time
out.
of this podcast, we can't guarantee, but you have some spots open. Tell our listeners, tell our friends what that cruise is. And then I guess I'm sure they can find that information on your website, but if not, tell us where we can find you and all that information and we'll drop all the links in the show notes so we can have those links.
Yeah, so that is our 6 Pillars at Sea Marriage Getaway. It's going to be our 5th annual event.
Wow.
We take 30 couples with us. We only have some spots still available for our 2027 event. And it is a amazing time at sea. It's going to be a 7-night cruise. And it's not only about sitting in sessions all day. This isn't a intensive type of an event. We spend time going over the 6 pillars, and it's a whole new course. What do you say? Call it
Curriculum.
Curriculum. People to be around couples who are going after that extraordinary marriage. And so we put you in this group with 30 other couples who are doing and there for the same reason you're there, and the friendships that come out of it, the camaraderie. It's more than just, we're on a cruise together.
I mean, it's a great trip, but the relationships that are fostered,
We've seen them over the years. They've strengthened. I mean, couples all over the country who don't know each other.
They travel to see each other, and they're celebrating anniversaries and going on vacations together. It's I think one of the things that the getaway has highlighted for us with this getting ready to be our 5th one is that sometimes marriage can be a lonely proposition. You might have a lot of friends, but maybe not a lot of friends that are excited to do marriage or even striving to have an extraordinary marriage. And if we can create communities, and even just doing this podcast, right? If we can bring that hope back and then help people to connect with others who also want to have an extraordinary marriage, how much brighter does our world become?
Oh, yeah.
When we change the narrative that marriage doesn't have to end in divorce, but instead it can be this fabulous network of people who are excited and still like their spouses. That's crazy. Let's do that.
And do it on a ship in the Caribbean. Why not?
Why not?
There you go.
If we're going to do it someplace.
Why not?
Do it
Why
there. So,
Yeah.
anyone who is interested, you can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/getaway. You'll find it on the website and other places. If you start listening to the podcast, you'll probably hear it there as well. But if that's something that you're interested in, by all means, we'd love to have you come join us.
Well, that is great. You guys are the best. This was so
Thank you.
fun and
It was a
so
lot of fun.
helpful. We are big fans of your ministry and what you do, and this is like this framework with the 6 pillars. It's amazing. And when you say that it was a God-breathed book, I believe you. I believe you. It really is. And I know the Lord is using it in the lives of many couples and using you guys. So we are grateful that you took some time to spend with us today. And again, we will have all those links so you can find Tony and Alisa. And thanks again.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.